Hi everyone, Heather here with Astrology with Heather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, December 10th, all the way through to Sunday, December 16th of 2018. And so this week in the astrology, things are calming down quite a bit, and it's going to be that way, for the next, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. I talked about this quite in depth in my recent interview with Robert Phoenix about how the energy last week was sort of our last little bit of turbulence and sort of difficult energy that we'll be experiencing on a more general scale until we move into 2019 in the eclipse season that starts in January. And so, this is a little bit of a rest and reprieve from some of the more difficult, chaotic, confusing, we've had a lot of Piscean, Neptune energy and things like that as well. It's a break from that energy, and it's a break from all the rearranging and sort of chaos. So this is a good time to restabilize, and especially because this week we have a really nice aspect to Saturn with Venus, in a sextile to Saturn, which is us coming back into balance, coming back into harmony, restabilizing the area of our lives that's going to be impacted by this sextile, which is a positive aspect, but it's a positive aspect that's a little bit more subtle than the trine, which is what we usually focus on when there's trines in the sky. We're like, wow, all these great benefits are just going to show up and come in very easily and very harmoniously. And that can still be the case for the sextile. But with the sextile aspect, you do actually have to do something to activate that energy. So you have to, set an intention. You have to use it more consciously, through your behavior, through your thoughts, through your actions, and all of those things. And so, learning about the energy that's coming up this week can help you to utilize it, especially as we come into the weekend when we have that aspect with Venus and Saturn. We're also going to be having the aspect between Mars and Pluto, and Mars and Pluto do really well together. Even when they're in a little bit more of a difficult aspect, they can play nicely because they're both co-rulers of Scorpio. We have Mars as the traditional ruler of Scorpio, which rules more like the action, willpower. It's how you utilize your power physically, right? And then we get into Pluto as the sort of more recent ruler of Scorpio, right? That Pluto was only discovered in the 1930s. And so prior to that time, we had Mars as the ruler of Scorpio, which is why Scorpio is a little bit more fiery than a lot of the other water signs, right? A little bit more driven, ambitious, action-oriented than Cancer would be, or Pisces especially. And so these energies do really nicely together already. And so when you have Pluto in a sextile to Mars, Pluto is more like your internal power. It's psychic energy. It's that psycho-emotional energy. And it's getting your... It's figuring out what you truly want, need, and desire. It amps up your passion on that sort of deep internal level and connects it to what you truly want and what you truly need. And it helps you with Mars there to take action on that very easily, very effectively, and in a way that's very concentrated and focused, right? When we're talking about Pluto, there's that laser focused energy. It's going to help you to take action to transform something in your life. And so, that's another really positive, sort of powerful energy that's coming in this week. But again, you have to do something with it, right? So you have to sort of know where it's going to be playing out in your chart, and you need to, activate it in some sort of way or utilize it for your benefit in order to, really, get that energy, right? And the other thing that's going on is that Sagittarius, Mercury, which has been going retrograde back and forth in and out of Sagittarius, is going to be moving into Sagittarius for the last time. It won't be there for, at least a year. And so we're going to have for the next couple of weeks Mercury back in Sagittarius moving forward over the points where it retrograded recently. And so this is a lot of forward momentum on the projects, the plans, the sort of ambitions and goals that we've been sort of thinking about off in the distance. And this is sort of us revisiting that energy, right? So we're going to be revisiting that energy of Mercury and Sagittarius, starting to move forward with our plans and goals. And, the energy is going to support that, but it's not an energy for the next couple of weeks where it's like, we need to do something right now. It's like you can start setting up, the foundation and getting your ducks in a row and taking some time to rest after all of the change and turbulence and chaos. And maybe there's been change that's been waiting to happen. And so this is you finally being able to take hold of that energy and start to slowly put things in motion. But I would warn that, eclipse season is coming in January, so that might change some things. So as long as you're remaining open and flexible and adaptable, it should work out really well. So we have some nice energy these next few weeks. And so yeah, so Sagittarius. So Mercury in Sagittarius, as I've mentioned before, is a little bit more about the big picture and the broader perspective. It causes us to think a little bit more philosophically, a little bit more in terms of our long-term goals and plans. It causes us to think more optimistically and idealistically, which can be nice, and it can be a nice change from that Scorpio energy, which is really deep and intense and trying to pick apart things and figure everything out from that sort of internal level. When we have Mercury in Sagittarius, we can step outside of whatever it is we're trying to sort out, and we can see it from an outside perspective or from a broader perspective or vantage point, which gives us a better idea of what's actually going on, so we can make better plans. On the flip side, Mercury's technically at its detriment in the sign of Sagittarius because it's the ruler of Gemini, which is the opposite sign. And so when we have Mercury in Sagittarius, there's a tendency to see the bigger picture, but to miss the details. Also, in terms of language and speech, Sagittarius is known for being quite blunt, not in a malicious way, but in sort of a good-hearted way. They're very truthful, right? And so sometimes the truth is not well received, and sometimes it can come across in a way that you didn't mean it to. And so Mercury in Sagittarius is pretty notorious for an influence that causes people to sort of always have their foot in their mouth. So if that's something you want to avoid, just make sure that you're, taking the time to think things through before you say something, even if your intentions are good and it seems quite harmless. Instead of just blurting something out or just saying what's on your mind, think about a little bit how it's going to affect other people over these next couple of weeks. And usually with Mercury and Sagittarius, you'll be forgiven quite easily because your intentions are good. So even if you say something that is taken the wrong way, people won't stay mad about that. So it's not like a very heavy conflict sort of energy. So at least not until it moves into square with Mars again. Then it might be a little bit different, right? But we don't have that right now. We don't have to worry about that this week. And so that's what's going on. Pretty low key, pretty easy, mellow energy. So I'm sure that's very welcomed, by most of you. and yeah, so that's what we're going to be getting into. And so I'm going to go into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning with Aries. Per usual, this is a general forecast, and so it might not be applicable to everyone in every situation. It's not going to be as detailed as a, personalized astrology reading, which you can totally book one. The link is in the description of this video down below if you want to book a reading with me. But otherwise, this is going to, give a fairly accurate interpretation of like the general energy for all 12 signs, and it's especially it's going to be especially accurate for the rising sign. So I always recommend that people listen for the rising sign first, and then their sun sign is secondary, because the sun sign energy will still, be at play, and it'll still give another layer of information to this forecast. And so, that's the way that I recommend doing it. But sometimes people like to listen to their moon sign and whatever else, and that's fine too. The moon sign will be more internalized. It'll be less reflective of external realities and external manifestation of events, right? So that's something to keep in mind if you are listening for your moon sign. But some people are more connected to their moon, especially if you have your moon in the first house, or if you have, your moon in Cancer, or your sun or your rising in Cancer, you might benefit from listening to your moon. So anyway, that's my spiel. I decided I wanted to make that more clear from now on because I get a lot of questions about that. And it's because when we do these sun sign forecasts, not every astrologer does it this way, but most do, where we use what's called a solar chart. And so a solar chart actually places the sun on the ascendant. And so, it's still a very, accurate way to describe the energy for the sun sign, but it's going to be most accurate for the rising sign. All right, and so let's get into this. So for Aries and for Aries rising, you have Mercury moving forward into your 9th house again, and so you're going to be revisiting your beliefs, ideas, travel plans, educational pursuits, your relationship with teachers, your relationship with yourself as a teacher. This could be an influx of really important information that comes in over the next couple of weeks that helps you to resolve a lot of the confusion that's been going on potentially in that area of your chart over the past 3 weeks when we've had Mercury going retrograde. In terms of the energy of the sextile between Venus and Saturn, which comes exact on Sunday. So that'll be active Saturday through Monday mostly, because it is sort of a smaller aspect, so it gives a shorter orb. But when you have Venus, so Venus is actually in your 8th house right now of finance. And so you might already have a lot of really intense energy around Venus. Venus in Scorpio is already quite intense, right? It's obsessive, it's possessive and protective. And in the 8th house, you might be protective of your resources, protective of your inner world, your fears, your anxieties, the things that sort of run deep. When you have, Venus in the sign of Scorpio, it can make you sort of obsessed with your relationships or obsessive over your relationships. This could also be you obsessing over your finances and your financial situation. This could be you striving to come back into balance as it relates to debt, taxes, inheritance, other people's money, joint finances through marriage, and working really hard in your 10th house, which is something that you've been working on and doing over the course of the past year or so, because, last year I believe it was actually in December, you had Saturn first move into Capricorn. So there's been a lot of hard work and a lot of effort going on for Aries in terms of creating a solid foundation for yourself in your career moving forward. And, the work that you've been doing in this area might pay off actually through rebalancing your budget, coming back into balance through your financial situation, balancing, loans and debt and your portfolio or whatever it is that you want to do this week. It's all favored. So kind of getting things together for tax season, even that could be something that you could utilize this for, especially if you're a business owner in the 10th house. And so, it's all good energy. It's going to help to restabilize your relationship. It can help your relationships. It can help to create that deep intimacy, but to ground that energy so it's not so intense or internal, so it can create external stability and longevity and help you to set up a solid foundation for yourself for deep intimacy in your relationships moving forward. So having those deeper Scorpio connections in relationship. You're going to have Mars, which is in your 12th house. Mars in the 12th house can be a little difficult. The 12th house is the house of hidden enemies, but you have Pluto right now in your 10th house making a sextile to Mars. And so this could be you sort of visualizing something and manifesting it, right? So this is something that you've been sort of obsessing over or focusing on or dwelling on as it relates to transforming your career into an energy that you truly need, want, and desire, right? And so Pluto, when it transits the 10th house, is all about figuring out what you desire, what you truly want, what you want to focus your energy on as it relates to your career. And, this week or this weekend, you might get sort of a little bit of an insight or a jolt or this sort of inclination to jump into something that comes from another space, right? That comes through dreams, visions, or just some sort of download or an impression, this idea that you need to, move with this energy. And so that's what's going on for Aries. For Taurus and for Taurus rising, Mercury is actually going to be moving into your 8th house again. So this is you revisiting ideas, plans, thoughts, communications around money, joint finances, debt, inheritance, sex, power and control issues, all of this. But you're going to be revisiting it for the final time and sort of coming to a resolution point of this energy. With Venus in your 7th house making a really nice sextile to Saturn in your 9th, this could be a really great time for very literally stabilizing your relationships, right? Recommitting yourself to your partnerships. And this could be partnership in marriage, but this could also be partnership in terms of, business partnership, friendships, especially close friendships, even close relationships with family members, relationships with clients, and the way that you work with clients, if you do work one-on-one with people. All of these things come into the realm of the 7th house. And with the 7th and 9th house both being involved too, if you're undergoing any sort of legal proceedings or legal issues, because the 9th house is, law, and the 7th house also has an association with law, it's contracts, agreements, you might be able to come to a stable, long-lasting agreement finally over the course of this weekend. Also with Pluto there too, right? Pluto is in your 9th house also. And so it's being sextiled by Mars, which is in your 11th. And so this could be, you wanting to make travel plans to connect with friends, social networks, groups of people that you like to surround yourself with by choice. This could be you initiating something as it relates to, again, this could be legal proceedings, right? This could be you finally transforming something, maybe by networking or connecting with the right groups of people and finding a different lawyer or finding a better way to deal with it through their advice. That could be something that comes up for you. But I would say that this is mostly going to be an energy where you're going to be able to take action or initiate something within a group, right? And so if you're planning on traveling or visiting relatives or visiting friends, this is a really great time to do that. They might ignite your passions and light you up about something, because this is the ninth house of travel and the 11th house of friendships and social networks. This could also be you wanting to jump in to do something very charitable, to give back, something that benefits the whole of all humanity, and doing so in a way that is very much in alignment with your deep sense of morality, integrity, your truth. And so, figuring out what you believe is part of the process of Pluto transiting the ninth house. It's looking at, I have these kind of mixed up here. It's looking at what you truly believe and what you truly want, need, and desire when it comes to your beliefs, your education, that type of thing. And so connecting to your core beliefs and utilizing that to give back and do something, that helps other people or that's good for the group, that would be a really good way to utilize this energy. Okay. So for Gemini and for Gemini rising, oh, that's what I did here. Interesting. Okay, I'm still having some weird Mercury retrograde energy going on. I see what I did and why that was confusing for me. Anyway, I drew my little thing wrong. I didn't draw it wrong. I just drew it in a way that's incorrect, I guess, or just confusing in a lot of different ways. I don't know why I did that. Okay, anyway, I figured it out. I was getting jumbled with Taurus. I apologize, Taurus, for jumbling up a little bit there. But anyway, so Gemini and for Gemini rising, you're going to have Mercury moving into Sagittarius, which is your 7th house of agreements, contracts, relationships, especially partnerships and marriage. And so with Mercury moving into your 7th house, you're going to be revisiting communications, thoughts, ideas, plans as it relates to your marriage or your spousal relationship, long-term partnerships, business contracts, and relationships with clients, agreements and contracts and things like that you might have been sort of reviewing and re-editing and revising during the Mercury retrograde. Now you can sort of finalize this energy if that's something that is applicable to you, or this could just be you revisiting a conversation and moving forward with some sort of agreement, because this is the house of joint activity, right? Things that you do in partnership with other people. And so this could be you really launching into something or finalizing plans that you were doing in partnership with somebody. With Venus in your 6th house making a really nice sextile to Saturn in the 8th. Saturn in the 8th house for you has been working through your deepest fears, anxieties, insecurities. With Saturn transiting the 8th house, it can bring up fears around death. It can bring up fears around birth and gestation. It can bring up fears around sex and intimacy. It can bring up fears around power and control issues and loss of power and control. Usually when Saturn's in your 8th house, you fear losing control in one way or another. But with Saturn in the 8th house, one of the more physical things that you might be working on is your financial situation, especially as it relates to debt, joint finances, taxes, inheritance, other people's money, joint finances through marriage. And with Venus in your 6th house making a sextile to Saturn, this is a weekend where you can come to some sort of better balance or agreement as it relates to your day-to-day work experience. Or your relationship with your coworkers, or even your financial compensation for the work that you're doing, that can benefit you in becoming more free and setting up that solid foundation for yourself when it comes to your finances, in allocating resources very diligently and very slowly toward paying off debts, right? That's something that you could work toward as well. This could also be, bringing up, fears about losing control and all of that, especially as it relates to losing control about your health. And so this can help you to come back into balance in terms of your health, physical and metaphysical, I guess I should say, your physical health, but also your mental and psychological health. You could be coming back into balance and stabilizing this area, or finding, maybe even through relationship or through partnership, an idea about how you can improve your day-to-day routines and your day-to-day experience in order to create better health moving forward on that psychological level as well as that physical level. Pluto is in your let's see here. Pluto is in your 8th house also. And so Pluto in the 8th house is a deep transformation. It's transforming through deep-seated wounds, fears, insecurities. It's dredging up your stuff and causing you to have to work through it and transform it and let it go and surrender. Surrendering your fears, surrendering anything that disempowers you and causes you to feel like you're not in control of your own life and your own destiny. And when you have Mars actually in your 10th house of career, this could actually be you taking action in order to transform something. Again, financially could be part of it because this is the 10th house of career, or this could be you taking some sort of action to move forward with something that you were fearful to move forward with before, letting go of those fears and transforming it and utilizing that energy to take action, right? Overcoming your fears. So if you're afraid to do something with your work or afraid to move forward with something, feeling hesitant for whatever reason, now's the time when you might be able to move forward with that. And it might pay off, through joint finances or through getting some sort of financing for a project that you're wanting to do. There's a lot of different things that could come through for you with this energy. For Cancer and for Cancer rising, Mercury's moving into your 6th house for the final time. And so Mercury in the 6th house is one final time to revisit your day-to-day routines, to replan, reorganize your workspace, to revisit any last projects or paperwork or anything you need to finalize before the new year. Anything that you've been working on, refining as it relates to your day-to-day work routines or to your health. Now's the time when you're going to revisit that and you're going to start to see results. With Venus in the sign of Scorpio in your 5th house, making a really nice sextile to Saturn and Capricorn. This is great for relationships. You might find yourself, feeling much more romantic, wanting to sort of stabilize and commit yourself to your partnerships a little bit more, or to recommit yourself to your partnerships. If you're not in partnership, this is a time when you could meet someone, or it could be, fun for you, or this could just be you engaging in a one-on-one relationship with somebody and doing something playful, fun, exciting, and, something that you're passionate about. So finding a really close friend or somebody that you really connect with and going out and doing something, right? Going out on the town. Maybe you'll meet someone if you do that, right? Venus in the 5th house is really, really nice for engaging in creative pursuits, engaging in your passions for love and romance and coming back to balance through play, enhancing your relationship with your children, which is also another thing that could be enhanced and stabilized through this energy. So it really just depends on what's going on for you personally and how this applies to your chart. When we're looking at this Pluto energy here, so Pluto is actually making a sextile from the 7th house. So Pluto in the 7th house is an energy of really refining and honing in on what you truly want, need, and desire in relationship. And so this has been going on for quite some time, especially if you have your rising sign at 19 degrees. This is going to be, an energy of you taking some sort of action to transform your relationships so they're more in alignment with your beliefs, your morality, your integrity. And this isn't just your romantic partnerships. This is all close personal relationships, contractual agreements, business partnerships, relationships with clients, close friends, all of that. And, with Mars in the 9th house, you might be feeling fired up about your ideals, about your moral values, your beliefs, right? This can make you very self-righteous about your beliefs, but in this nice sextile here, it can help you to make sure that you're acting with integrity within your relationships and within the contracts that you sign up for and agree with. Maybe you need to take action to transform or to let go of a certain contract or agreement that is holding you back and that is not in alignment with your integrity moving forward. For Leo and Leo rising, and so last week I got Leo and Virgo switched around. Mercury retrograde the last week when it went into Scorpio, because that's my rising sign, it was like, I don't know what was going on. Despite my best efforts, I was doing everything wrong. But anyway, so Leo and Leo rising. Your correct forecast for this week. You have Mercury moving into your 5th house, and so this is revisiting anything that you've been sort of redoing or restabilizing or revisiting or re-editing as it relates to play, hobbies, interests, children, the things that you love to do for fun. It could also be you revisiting an energy around romance or communication with a romantic partnership that came up during the Mercury retrograde period. With Venus in your fourth house of the home and family, making a nice sextile to the sixth house of health, this could be you stabilizing and coming back into harmony as it relates to your daily routines at home, right? So your daily routines in terms of cleaning, organizing, in terms of connecting with your family members, or maybe making space or making more time to have a solid foundation to connect better with the people you surround yourself with, your family or your soul family, or the people in your immediate environment, maybe your roommates, spouses, or this could be you setting up a foundation for you to connect more with your sort of your ancestral lineage, right? Or your family back home if you sort of moved away. There's a lot of different things that could bring, but I see this more as coming back into balance in terms of daily routines at home. This could be you coming back into balance to create better health for yourself, or looking at new routines that you can create to help facilitate better health and tranquility, harmony, balance for your family members, right? That would be a really good way to utilize this energy. With Pluto in your sixth house as well, there might be something that you're working through on a deep psychological level to transform, and this has been going on for many years, but to transform on the level of your health and your daily routines. And so looking at the psychological and emotional causes that might be contributing to different ailments and health issues and things like that. This could also be you looking at what you truly want, need, and desire in terms of your work environment, your work relationships, your work in general. And you might feel like you want to take action on something that is going to free you from, any sort of baggage, bondage, control from the outside. And this could be related to, your work, your daily routines, and that could work out quite easily for you, actually. So, creating a little bit more freedom, allowing an energy to unfold where you're releasing a little bit of control in this situation and scenario, but you're also empowering yourself to have more control moving forward. And so this is also a really great energy for, doing something new as it relates to your health and your daily routines, especially as it relates to, as I mentioned before, healing from the inside out, that deep healing, right? Healing through your deep wounds, vulnerabilities, insecurities in a way that's going to allow you greater freedom moving forward, so you feel like you're more in control of your life. For Virgo and Virgo rising, this Mercury moving into Sagittarius is going to be moving back into your fourth house of the home and family. And so any of the re-editing, reorganizing, revising you've been doing in that area of your life during the Mercury retrograde, now is a time over these next couple of weeks where you can finalize those energies, where you can sign those contracts and agreements, where you can move forward with your plans and goals, or you might revisit and sort of resolve like a communication issue with family members. So that's Mercury moving into your fourth house. With Venus is in your third house of communication, making a really nice sextile with Saturn in your fifth house. This could be you stabilizing the energy of your romantic partnerships, especially love affairs and flings. Saturn in the fifth house can make romance feel like a lot more work, but right now this opens you up for really stable, really grounded, really beautiful, honest communication with your partner, because Venus in Scorpio is all about honesty and trust, and Venus in Scorpio can be a little bit more sensitive to betrayal. And so this is an energy where you can open up to your partner, you can have a really solid conversation that helps to solidify and stabilize your relationship. If you're in some sort of romantic partnership, like a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, something a little less serious, and you can talk about your needs, wants, and desires. This is really great for, really fun, lighthearted, beautiful communication, but communication that helps facilitate something real and something grounded. So that's, Venus in the sign of Scorpio in your third house. You also have Pluto in your fifth house, which has been transforming your intimate partnerships, your romantic partnerships, transforming what you truly need, want, and desire as it relates to romance, transforming what you need, want, and desire as it relates to play and fun and your hobbies and your interests and the things that you love to do, having to surrender an old way of dealing with this energy and moving into something new. This could also involve transformation of the energy of your relationship with your children. This could bring up, over the course of the whole time that Pluto's in the sign of Capricorn, this could have been bringing up power struggles. as it relates to children, maybe power struggles with your partner or ex-partner. And this is a week or a weekend where you might make some headway, where you might be able to take some sort of action to transform that relationship so you can have a little bit more power and control over, your relationship with your children and your ability to have fun and to play with them. This could also be a really great energy with Pluto and Mars in sextile in the 5th and 7th house for you to take action to deepen a relationship, to make it more committed. Or this is just a really good energy it's a very sensual, sexually charged energy, so it's a really good energy to spend time alone, in an intimate setting with your partner. So that's something you could utilize this for as well. For Libra and for Libra rising, Mercury's moving into your 3rd house of communication, and so any contracts, agreements, communications, miscommunications that came up for you over the course of these past 2 to 3 weeks with Mercury in Sagittarius going retrograde, this is a time when you can revisit, re-edit, revise, finalize your plans, finalize that paperwork, sign those contracts, revisit the communication that maybe went a little bit AWOL during the Mercury retrograde period, and have a better sense of what's going on moving forward. And so the Venus energy. So the Venus energy is happening in your 2nd house of resources, and this is making a really nice sextile to Saturn, which has been transiting your 4th house of the home and family. And so when Saturn's in your 4th house, it's usually a time of having to work on family relationships, lay down roots. It's a time when you might be exploring your ancestry a little bit more, wanting to know your lineage, wanting to have a solid foundation in that area, and a good understanding, wanting to move forward with something like buying a home, or there might be a little bit more burden added to the area of your life related to home and family. But this could actually be some sort of positive financial endeavor that you could be initiating, or that you could have maybe some sort of payoff from an investment in your home. This is you coming back into balance financially and stabilizing your foundation in terms of property and property ownership, if that's something that's applicable to you. Venus in the 2nd house is all about balancing your budget and protecting your resources in the sign of Scorpio, right? By balancing your budget and making sure that you're doing things appropriately. Normally, Venus in the 2nd house can make you spend a little bit more on luxurious items, but I would say with Saturn involved, it's going to help you to maintain your resources and not to overspend over the holidays. And especially in Scorpio, like I said before, is a little bit more protective of resources with this Venus energy there. So that's kind of what's going on there. You have Pluto also in your 4th house. So Pluto's been transforming your relationship with home, family. It's what you truly want. It's showing you what you truly want, need, and desire when it comes to your roots and when it comes to what you come home to after work, right? Do you want to have a family there? Do you want to have pets? Do you want to have your own home? Do you want to live out in the country, or do you want to live in a big city where you're surrounded by people? What is it that you want, right? Capricorn on the IC, maybe you want to go live out in the mountains, or maybe you want to live in a bigger city. But anyway, so that's kind of showing you what you want, need, and desire in the area of home and family relationships over the course of, several years. But Pluto is being sextile by Mars in your 6th house. The 6th house is the house of daily routines. And so this could be you wanting to take action on something very passionately, and that can help you to transform your daily routines in your home and in your family situation so you can have better health, better mobility moving forward. This could also, if you work from home, be you initiating something or changing something in terms of your work environment or your relationships with your coworkers to make things easier on yourself moving forward. And this could be a lot of good energy. I would say that this is a good energy for transforming something and taking the action that's necessary to transform something in terms of your day-to-day work routines. That's going to empower you and help you to have more control, or feel like you have more control moving forward. And the same thing with your health. For Scorpio and Scorpio rising, Mercury's moving into Sagittarius this week, so this is a lot of thinking and planning and signing contracts, balancing budgets, that type of thing, as it relates to resources, right? Because this is the 2nd house of resources. So you might be revisiting plans and ideas that you had for creating more finances for yourself during the Mercury retrograde. You might be moving forward with signing contracts, paying off debts, or taking on new debts, hopefully not, but that could be part of it too, or coming to different agreements as it relates to resources. getting your books in order for tax season, that type of thing. So you can start to move forward with your plans and goals as it relates to resources and finances for the next few weeks. You also have Venus, which is going to be at 9 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, making a really nice sextile to Saturn and Capricorn in your third house of communication. And so for Scorpio rising, especially if you have your rising sign within a couple of degrees of that 9th degree, so I would say anywhere from, let's say, 6 to 12 degrees, you'll be feeling this the most. But especially at that 9th degree in the sign of Scorpio, this is going to be a really beautiful, balanced, harmonious energy that's going to help you to feel more attractive. This can help you to feel more sensual, more charismatic. People will be more drawn to you and feel more comfortable around you. You'll feel more comfortable in your own skin. And this could be really great for communication that allows you to partner up with people. So coming to different agreements, contracts, in the third house of communication. This could be you connecting with people in a more beautiful, balanced, harmonious way through communication, through text messages, emails. This is good for writing, especially writing something that's practical but also beautiful, and articulating yourself in a way that's very balanced. This could be you wanting to come back into balance and harmony and to stabilize something and set a foundation for yourself as it relates to your community, your neighbors, the sort of energy that surrounds you in your neighborhood. This could be you connecting with siblings and extended family members in a really harmonious, grounded way. But however you use this energy, it's, I think it's going to be very much to your benefit. It's going to be very balancing and very stabilizing. You're going to feel much more grounded this week than maybe you have in quite some time. The energy of Pluto in the third house. So Pluto's been transforming the way that you communicate, right? And transforming your ideas and your day-to-day self-talk, and helping you to figure out what you truly need, want, and desire in your relationships with people that surround you, in your neighbors, your neighborhood, your community. And you have actually Mars in the fifth house. The fifth house is the house of romance. So this could be you communicating something to a romantic partner. This could be enhancing the need to communicate and transform something in relationship to a romantic partnership, or with your children, or the father of your children, if that's applicable to you. This could be you really figuring out what you're passionate about and wanting to take the necessary measures to move forward with something that helps you to engage in your passions a little bit more so. And so thinking about what you're truly passionate about and taking action in order to make that a little bit more easily accessible for you moving forward, so you feel empowered to do the things that you love to do. For Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, Mercury is moving into your sign. So any of the sort of mishaps, miscommunications, plans, anything that you've been thinking about doing in terms of your own self-interest and the way that you sort of move about in the world over these past 3 weeks, you're going to have Mercury moving back into Sagittarius. It's going to help you to move forward with new plans, new goals, new ideas, to finalize things. When Mercury's in your sign like that, it makes you a little bit more self-involved in terms of your thought processes. So you're thinking more about what you need, what you want, what you desire, and how you can make those things a possibility or a reality for yourself. And so this is you honing in on the details and figuring out what you need moving forward in terms of your own self-interest, your long-term goals and plans. Venus in your 12th house is really good for relaxing, especially relaxing in partnership. So taking time away to go on vacation with your partner, or to just spend time in solitude and seclusion away from the world in partnership with other people, focusing on the things that you're really passionate about, deepening your passion and your intimacy and your connection in partnership. And that's not just, in romantic partnership. That could be in any sort of partnership, business partnership, friendship, whatever. And this is going to actually, in the 12th house, making a really nice sextile to Saturn in your second house. You might make some sort of moves that come to you from this place of sort of serenity and unconscious energy, where you're sort of just disconnected and relaxing and allowing things to flow. You can have some sort of idea that can help you to rebalance and restabilize your finances. So you might be making some moves in that area that are quite positive and helping you to create a solid foundation for yourself, for your resources moving forward, because that's what Saturn in the second house does, right? It's about working really hard for your money, but working really hard to create that solid foundation for your resources moving forward for the next 28 to 30 year cycle of Saturn, right? So this is whatever you're doing here, whatever you're working on, is going to set you up for success for 30 years, really. And so you might get some sort of insight that comes in. Pluto in your second house is a transformation of your relationship with resources. Pluto in the second house a lot of times can get people into debt. There can be power struggles involving money and resources that come up, and this has been going on for several years now for you, for for Sagittarius rising. But this could actually help you to, so Mars in your fourth house of the home and family, making a sextile with Pluto in your second. This could be you taking action to do something that helps to lessen the blow of certain power struggles or certain control issues involving your family and involving resources, or involving property and your resources. This could be you just wanting to do something like take out a loan for a home renovation, right? Because that's Mars in the fourth house, is like taking action, renovating, using saws and hammers and tools to create something new and to sort of revitalize your home. And Pluto is deeply regenerative, deeply restorative. So if you're wanting to initiate a project like that, this could be a time to do it. And that could be the investment that you're making in the second house in your future with your resources, right? That could be something that you're working on. This could also be you taking some sort of action just to create deeper intimacy and a better experience with your family members, or doing something new with your family members, or doing something new involving your home. All right. For Capricorn and for Capricorn rising, Sagittarius is moving into your 12th house. The 12th house is the house of dreams and visions, and it's the house that connects everything to everything else. It's very interconnected. It's the house that contains the energy of all the houses before it, all the signs. And so it's very archetypal. And so when you have Mercury moving into the sign of Sagittarius in the 12th house, this is going to have you thinking about your ideals, your spirituality, your spiritual practice, your philosophical and religious beliefs. This could also be you revisiting things from the Mercury retrograde in terms of downloads, flashes of insight, impressions, visions, creativity. This is a really great time to write or to journal. If you're somebody who does, some sort of form of creative writing, this is a really great time when you can move forward with new projects, new ideas in that respect. I always recommend with Mercury in the 12th house, journal your dreams, journal your impressions, the thoughts that come up for you sort of unexpectedly out of the blue, because these might be showing you something or trying to direct you or guide you in a certain direction. With Saturn and Capricorn, so especially if you have your rising sign at around 9 degrees in the sign of Capricorn, you've been having that sort of Saturn reset on your ascendant. And so this is a major reset and a restructuring of all areas of life, really, when you have Saturn sitting on your ascendant. And so anyone who has their sun, moon, rising within, what did I say before? I said 6 to 12 degrees. That's a good orb. Within 6 to 12 degrees is going to be feeling this most, maybe even a little bit beyond that, because Saturn, is a really strong energy. So you might be feeling it even a little bit past those degrees. But anyway, so if you have your sun, moon, rising near that 9th degree in Saturn, you're going to be feeling this a little bit more strongly than other people. But this is going to be a restructuring of all areas of life that's sort of moving forward for you right now, and it's been going on for quite some time. And so this is another pass of that. With Venus making a really nice sextile to Saturn, this is you getting some help or some support from relationships with friends, social networks, groups of people, people you surround yourself with by choice. This could be you having, old friendships coming back around, or deepening your intimacy and connection in friendship, opening yourself up a little bit more to connecting with other people. And this can help you to sort of refine your identity out in the world and your relationship with others. This can help you to restabilize your energy a little bit and to get a little bit of lightness if there's been a lot of heaviness. This will bring in some good fortune, and the good fortune is going to come through your friendships. And these friendships can give you ideas about how you can reduce some of the burden and the strain, and to, work on whatever it is that you need to work on in order to move forward with your new plans and sort of your new identity out in the world, right? Because that's Saturn on the ascendant. It's like a reset of your identity. You're going to be changing who you are and the way that you show up in the world, and restructuring that area of your life over the next couple of years. Pluto in your first house for Capricorn. So especially if you have your sun, moon, rising near that 19th degree. So I would say, 16 to 22 degrees would be the orb of influence that would be impacted the most by this. If you have Pluto on those points, you're going to be feeling this much more strongly. But Pluto's transforming, again, your identity out in the world. It's showing you who you truly are and who you want to be. It's helping you to show up truthfully and authentically, without any pretense, without any sort of looking at just trying to get love and acceptance from other people. It's helping you to empower yourself to control how you show up and to control your life in all areas, really. That's, part of the first house. And Mars is actually in your third house of communication. There could be a really important communication that, or contract or agreement or some sort of paperwork or something that comes through this week that you need to take action on, that's going to help to liberate you and help you to feel a greater sense of control over your well-being, over your path in life, and over you being able to connect with what you truly want and desire and act on your own self-interest. Because you're undergoing a big transformation with, these Pluto and Saturn energies that are going to be coming to a head later in 2019 as well. So this might help you to figure out plans, goals, to take action in a way that's going to help support you moving forward. For Aquarius and Aquarius rising, Mercury is moving into your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, groups of people that you surround yourself with by choice. And so you might be revisiting some communications that came up during the Mercury retrograde with friends, social networks, humanitarian types of charity organizations, whatever it is that is applicable to you, groups of people, right? Or even groups of people over the internet, or, using technology in some sort of way. Mercury is going to have that focus on that energy. So you might find yourself on the receiving end of a lot of communication from your friends over the next couple of weeks. You're going to be having this sextile between Venus and Saturn in your 10th and 12th house. And so in the 10th house, this is you coming back into balance by creating harmony in your workplace, harmony in your career and public reputation. Especially if your midheaven is around 9 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, you might find yourself a little bit more popular with your coworkers, or a little bit more popular out in the open if you work publicly or in the public sector. You might find yourself feeling a little bit more charismatic, and you might find that coworkers or superiors and bosses or people that work for you might be more drawn to you. They might feel more comfortable being around you and opening up to you. This is a time when you might get some sort of financial benefit or bonus, from the work that you're doing as well, because Venus rules finance. This is a time when you can stabilize and rebalance your work and your career path and your image out in the world very easily and very successfully. Saturn's been going through your 12th house, which is the house of endings and letting go. So there is a sense of maybe needing to let go of something or restructure something in order to create better balance and harmony as it relates to your career. With Pluto in your 12th house, making a sextile to Mars in your 2nd. So this could be you needing to take action on something. And the action comes from a very visceral place, from something very deep, very archetypal. You could get some sort of message or download or inspiration, or there could be like a karmic energy that shows up that causes you to need to take action on your finances or with resources, or maybe to buy something new that you've been needing to purchase. And so there's a little bit of energy around initiating something and needing to take back control of your resources. And for Pisces and Pisces rising, Mercury is transiting into Sagittarius in your 10th house of career and public reputation. And so during the Mercury retrograde, you might have found yourself on the receiving end of mishaps and miscommunications, having to redo, re-edit, revise different projects as it relates to your career. There could have been a lot of different things going on in that respect. So Mercury is revisiting that energy. So this is you finalizing that project, finalizing that contract, bringing back up that communication or that idea that you brought up to your boss the first time around, and maybe he didn't quite get it, right? So this is you kind of revisiting that energy. So the focus in terms of a mental level is going to be on your career and moving forward with projects and plans. Venus is in your 9th house, which is the house of beliefs. It's the house of foreign travel. And so this could be you really honing in on travel plans. This is a really great time to connect with people or organizations that are in alignment with your morality and your integrity. This is a really great time to do something charitable where you're giving back to the group and to work hard in that respect. Maybe or this could be a really great time to travel to a foreign country or to do a long distance trip, maybe to visit your family or to visit your friends. With Venus in the sign of, it's sort of the broader picture and the bigger perspective on life. So it's helping you to gain perspective on what you truly want in order to come back into balance and to create a solid foundation for yourself as it relates to the people you surround yourself with, so your friends and social networks. Pluto in the 11th house is helping you to transform and figure out what you deeply, deeply need and desire in terms of human connection, right? And you have Mars right now, which is in your first house. So this could be you taking action on something in order to sort of alleviate some sort of power struggle or disagreement in your 11th house of friends. This could be you wanting to take some sort of new action to create new friendships or to feel more empowered within your group or to take a position of power within a group of people. If that's something that you've been looking for, like a leadership role or a position of power within an organization or group. Those are all things that could be happening for you. If you have your sun, moon, rising, especially your rising or your sun at that 19th degree, so I would say anywhere from 17 to 21 degrees in the sign of Pisces, you're going to be feeling really fired up and really passionate this weekend, like really wanting to jump forward, move into things, and you're going to have the willpower, the strength, the passion, the drive, the focus to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. So, channel that energy wisely, right? That's a lot of energy there and it's a lot of power. And so you could utilize that to create whatever it is that you've been wanting to create for yourself and to jump in. And you're supported in doing that this week. All right, everyone. So that is the forecast for all 12 signs. If you have any questions about anything I just said to you, feel free to comment below. I always like hearing back from you guys and seeing how you all are doing with the energy. And if you want to book a reading with me, again, you can do that. The link is in the description below. Otherwise, I will see you next week. Bye.